forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Netflix buffering, YouTube spinning, devices not connecting, Zoom calls dropping. Ugh, it's frustrating. Let's end your frustration by signing up for fiber internet in Clinton. Click the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
From the Hart Media Group newsroom and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this expanded morning newscast. Good morning and thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Ben Hubbard. The news is brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, as well as Connexus, offering fiber internet in Clinton. Click their icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to find out more. The DeWitt County Animal Shelter is looking to modernize its computer software, but the transition to a new system hit a legal speed bump during last Thursday night's DeWitt County Board meeting. State's Attorney Dan Markwell stepped in with several warnings before the board could move forward on a proposed contract with a software provider, ShelterLove. He cautioned that the contract doesn't look like a standard county agreement.
The contract is bound by the state of Delaware. And their laws apply pursuant to this contract. And that concerns me. If there's ever a breakdown or a lawsuit were to result from this, obviously I'm not licensed to practice in the state of Delaware. I don't know Delaware law very well. I've researched a little bit on some issues here. But not only does it say that it's governed and interpreted by the laws of the state of Delaware, basically does away with any conflict of laws issues that we normally have on trying to determine whose law would apply. But we consent to the personal jurisdiction of the state and federal courts in Wilmington, Delaware only. So that's a problem for me because if there's ever litigation, that's going to be costly.
Many out-of-the-box software agreements contain clauses that could leave the county vulnerable if a data breach occurred or if the software failed to perform as promised. Markwell specifically pointed to the lack of indemnification for the county, a legal term that essentially means the software company wouldn't be on the hook for costs if their system caused a legal issue for DeWitt County.
Besides having to potentially litigate any issues in the state of Delaware, we're also binding ourselves with this California Consumer Privacy Act, which, if you've seen that, it's 66 pages. I think it's very problematic. So this is ostensibly that the contract allows, it's called Houndtown, the ShelterLove people, to use the county's logo in any type of advertising and use any data that we provide them for marketing purposes, basically. Whatever you decide as far as your own personal data, that's one thing. But although this contract will bind us under the state of Delaware and the state of California under their laws, the data we're bringing in from customers, and my understanding is we'd be using this for adoptions of animals. So let's say somebody comes in and wants to adopt an animal. They're providing their data, their credit card information, what have you, and we're providing that. My fear, the way this is written, is they're going to take a third party's information and then use that for marketing purposes or solicit these people. And under the 66-page law out of California, it indicates that we would need to provide these individuals with notice of the contents, basically. I don't know how to do that other than anybody that's going to adopt. Say, here's the 66-page packet, and we could have them sign some kind of a disclaimer that they've read and understood it and are bound by it. And then somebody would have to be responsible with the county of following this and giving them the notice that's required for them to opt out. And I think it was like twice a year. We need to send them some kind of disclosure to that effect.
Beyond just legal liability, Markwell also pointed to data ownership noting concerns that once the county starts inputting sensitive records into the Shelter Love Cloud, getting that data back out or keeping it private might not be guaranteed under the current terms.
And the contract defines us as a business. And the reason they're doing that is because the only way they can incorporate us into this California law is defining a sense of business. We're obviously not a business, we're a governmental entity, so different laws apply to governmental entities than normally happens in business. So I don't like the definitions and them couching us in those terms, because I don't know, when you're looking at Delaware law or California law, what that's going to do for us. I looked just briefly today under the state of Delaware's laws, and for instance, in this contract, it goes for 12 months, and then it automatically renews month after month, and then you have to give 5 days notice before the expiration of the contract to terminate it. So I found 3 different provisions in the state of Delaware, one for contracts for services, which require a 6-month notice. So arguably, is this a contract for services? There's also contracts for equipment, which require 6 months notification. And then beyond those 2, there's a generic one that just says, the termination timeline has to be reasonable. I don't know that 5 days is reasonable, because you might get to the end of the month and not be able to get them notice in time. And the notice requirements in the state of Delaware, especially for terminating services or equipment, require by mail or in-person service. So we can't just email this company and say, we want out. So we need to be aware of that. Indicates that we as the customer acknowledge that the services are not licensed, used in connection with any time-critical or mission-critical functions. I don't know if that's true or not. On processing these, Downtown says that they can change, suspend, discontinue any aspect of the service at any time without notice or liability to the customer. And they may also impose limits on certain features and services or restrict the customer's access to part of the services without liability. They may also change the terms from time to time at its sole discretion. And if Houndtown makes any substantial changes, it will notify us. But what does substantial mean? I would want the county, if we're going to enter into a contract, know what the terms are, that they just can't be changed at the other party's discretion. And then if we disagree with that, then we've got to litigate it in another state.
Markwell highlighted a clause regarding third-party access, which could potentially allow the software provider to share or sell anonymized data, something that could conflict with county privacy standards.
Indicates that in the event of a loss of customer data caused by Houndtown's negligence or willful misconduct, Houndtown will use commercial reasonable efforts to recover the data within 96 hours of notification of loss. The foregoing constitutes customer's sole and exclusive remedy for any loss of data. So if they screw something up and they lose all our data, all they got to do is say, well, we tried for 96 hours to get it back and we didn't, so sorry, you're out. So, if you're going to do this, you need to have some kind of a good backup system, I would assume, to make sure that you're covered, because there's nothing we can do against them if they lose it. They also, Houndtown reserves the right to withhold, remove, and or discard customer data without notice. Under fees, customers shall pay all fees or charges set forth in the order form. Houndtown has the right to increase such fees or charges at any time upon notice of the customer. You may have an agreement at the beginning. They can give us notice and say, nope, next month this is what it's going to be, and we're going to be stuck with that. Once again, it talks about if there's a breach, Houndtown will reperform the non-conforming portion of the contract. Once again, that's the customer's sole and exclusive remedy for a breach of warranty. All their services are as is, providing no warranty. Talks about the amount of damages they can recover, which is $100 or potential fees paid by the customer under the 12-month immediate preceding the claim. So there's no other damages beyond that. When it comes to the county's logo, says each party grants the other limited worldwide license to use the other's logo in conformance with the party's trademark usage. I don't know that we've ever done that, but I think we should clarify exactly how that would be used.
In the world of software as a service, many companies take a take it or leave it approach to their digital terms of service. Markwell was also skeptical of this because standard digital contracts are often non-negotiable for large tech firms, which puts the county in a difficult position.
Talks about there's a no compete clause under section 11. Customer will not enter into any agreement with a third party that competes or otherwise conflicts with the provider of the products, services, or offerings being available through shelter pay. We sign the contract, we would immediately need to terminate our current agreement with whatever the current company is. We couldn't just use this and continue to use the data or use the other one and see how it goes. Otherwise, we'd automatically be in violation of that. It'd be one thing if they said, hey, here's the free trial, try it, and without a contract, and if we like it, great, then we can do something. But they're wanting us to sign a contract up front, which seemingly binds us and would cause us to have to fire this other company. So, I mean, there's a few other things, but those are my main concerns on that. And if you want me to, if you otherwise think it's a good product and you want me to engage their legal people, if they're willing to talk to me, I can address all those with them. Those are my concerns, though.
Several board members wondered why other counties had entered into the agreement with Shelter Love despite the things outlined by Markwell. He offered to reach out to the Shelter Love legal representatives to negotiate some of the terms.
So is it your recommendation that we don't enter into this contract?
I wouldn't do it as it's currently worded without addressing those issues, because I don't think that you always hope that nothing
Right.
bad happens, but I'm more concerned about third parties and persons that are involved with the adoptions, that their information is going to get out there and cause liability for us. I mean, that would be the big thing.
Mr. Putt-Putt, did you by chance talk to any of the attorneys in other counties that are participating in this program?
No, I haven't talked to anybody yet.
And the other question I have is your concern over the Delaware Corporation. How many other contracts do we deal with that are incorporated in Delaware?
I have no idea, but I don't know of anywhere we're bound for jurisdiction venue for court in the state of Delaware. Lots of places are incorporated.
So would we have to, I guess, if you have to terminate your existing group,
We don't.
what,
We can keep the animal shelter manager. We've already paid for animal shelter manager for them.
but that, if you enter into this contract, it's,
Well,
so
it's
eliminate-
it's our data that we store. It's just a storage. Where we have to store it right now. Grace, I think you can probably better explain. With Mr. Markwell's concerns, we did reach back out. And they were very agreeable to offer some information. Public records law follows the public agency, not the software. So if the organization is subject to open record requirements, it still applies. They wouldn't use our logo without contacting us first. And so I think, and also if you all were able to look through the modules that Dee forwarded, you will see that in order for the customer to use it, they use it through an application. They have a full list of terms and conditions that they have to review and read through. So, as noted before, we have other counties and municipalities that use this, and so I think would be worthwhile if we could possibly table and ask Mr. Markwell to reach out and resolve a few of these things. I think it is a solid company. Grace has been able to utilize the software for the past few months. It's been very helpful to animal control, and we need to move to something else. So we have no contract in place with our current software, and it's very bare bones. And really, as animal control continues to try and make things more efficient and work better for the county, we need to have better software in place. So, like I said, I'd recommend that we table and ask for questions.
The board tabled the vote to allow Markwell to reach out to the Shelter Love legal representatives to negotiate a revised contract. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. Let's take a quick break with a word from our sponsors.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to fiber fast internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
It's time to celebrate winter. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City. Yes, we have extra savings on all new Chevrolets this month to celebrate the winter season. See our inventory of Chevrolet Trailblazers, Blazers, and the efficient Trax. We also have a good selection of our 7-passenger Chevrolet Traverse and Tahoes. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. See our winter celebration savings at BaumChevyBuick.com right from the start.
News time is 23 minutes after the top of the hour. You're listening to the WHOW Morning Show. A local FFA program is finding that students in and outside of the program are having fun during FFA week. Tri-Valley FFA reporter Cheyenne Lockwood told the Hart Media Group that for this year's FFA week, they are doing the classics like themed dress-up days while also supporting their local food pantry. President Aiden Shine adds that they have great participation from non-FFA students.
So this week we wanted to use FFA week to give back to our community. So we have a food drive plan that's going to give back to our local food pantry, and that's been going pretty well. We started that yesterday. It's for all ag classes. We also have dresses of the days. Today is twin day, and obviously we're all matching. We have our February monthly meeting tomorrow. It's date night. We're going to go over some goals, find your love in agriculture, and just have a good time, eat cake pops, and watch a movie.
So yesterday we had pajama day. Tomorrow we're doing country or country club, kind of give people, a little bit of both worlds there. And then for Thursday and Friday, Alan.
Thursday, we're wearing sponsored T-shirts for a 9th hour photo that we're doing at the school. And then Friday is Blue and Gold Day, because the colors of FFA are National Blue and Gold.
I would say so. One of the things we do is Friday we have 9th hour every day. It's like a 20-minute period where different activities meet together and whatnot. And on Friday we always do trivia, and it is very well attended, and it's a good time for the kids that even most of the way through the year that don't know a ton about FFA. It's a good time for them to come in and revisit that, or kind of remember like, hey, we're here, and it does get some kids back more engaged that had previously kind of fallen off a little or not been as engaged.
Vice President Owen St. Peters explains that they have almost 200 members of the chapter, but only 30 to 40 active members. Lockwood adds that there are still members who are considered non-active, but still participate in the monthly chapter meetings.
We have about, I'd say 197 people enrolled total.
Wow.
For active members in terms, we probably got about 30, 35 people who do a lot of the activities within the chapter and on those higher levels. But that's just kind of a rough estimate of the numbers we have at Tri-Valley.
An active member shows up to the monthly meetings, the 9th hour meetings, participates in a lot of CDEs. Non-active members, they're like in an ag class, but they're not really interested in doing the career development events. But even kids that aren't very active still like to come to the monthly meetings because those are pretty fun. People really like those.
So we do a little bit of everything. They're all generally revolved around social goals. So a lot of these times, FFA members meet at CDEs, section, things like that. And so there's never really a good time for them to be able to come together. And, if you have a group that only does X CDEs or a group that does Y CDEs, they don't really get to interact with each other. And so these social meetings allow us as a chapter to get together and really just grow with each other, do something fun. There's times where we do community service or we write thank you cards, things like that. So, giving back to the community while also having a social event at the same time.
Shine notes that the FFA week is a great opportunity to recruit new members as well as encourage non-active members to get more involved, all while celebrating all that FFA has to offer.
Celebrate FFA and allow people that, aren't necessarily in it to, kind of regain, possibly get back into it, but really just celebrate, FFA and what we do and, expose that to other people on Friday. We do this every year. We have Free Flapjack Friday where some of the officers come in early in the morning. We make a bunch of pancakes and give them out to all the students for free. And so, that just kind of makes everyone happy end of the week. And it's a good time.
We have a lot of accomplishments that we've had this year. We had 5 people get their state degrees, and then we had our national vet science team that Owen was a part of. So that was really exciting for us to be able to celebrate them.
FFA Week is February 22nd through the 28th. Learn more about FFA at Maroa-Forsyth by finding the chapter on Facebook. A band of snow is headed for central Illinois Wednesday night into Thursday morning. On the WHOW Morning Show Monday, Ed Shimon at the National Weather Service in Lincoln told the Heart Media Group south winds are currently ushering in much milder air, with temperatures expected to climb well into the 40s, but the transition will be quite windy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're kind of on a bit of a yo-yo, which is typical of, February, March in central Illinois. But, we started off pretty cold this week. Monday and Tuesday mornings were, wind chills in the single digits, even below zero. So, today we're actually going to climb south winds, give us a 46-degree high or so. Clouds moving in. Maybe the radar is going to show some radar returns that rain should be hitting the ground, but it's too dry below the clouds. So, if you get a sprinkle, that's probably all you'll see. But don't be alarmed if you see something on radar coming through. But tonight, back below freezing, but not nearly as bad. 28 only for a low. Then we have a really sunny day on Wednesday, mid-40s. Not too bad. I should say today is going to be really windy. We're going to have 25 gusts to 35, almost 40-mile-an-hour winds out of the south today. So, the south winds will bring us warmer air, but, could shake up a few things you got sitting around on the porch.
Okay, sure.
There's a low pressure moving across the Canada-United States border, and that's producing snow and stuff up there. But, the warm front has passed, and it's well north of us. But, so to speak, a warm front has passed the area, and the southerly winds are feeding that deep low pressure. And, as low pressure develops, air rises, creating a vacuum. So the air's got to fill in, and we're getting that south wind to feed that low up there in northern Minnesota and northern Wisconsin today. Because we're basically seeing some very cold air still lingering in Canada. And, air is already warming really strongly in the southwest. So we'll see a surge of warm air get 60 near 70, and then all of a sudden a Canadian cold front blasts through, and we're wind chills 0 and below 0. So, the cold and warm air masses are just shifting around pretty drastically a lot of times this time of year.
Central Illinois could really use some rain, and we'll have more on that with Shimon later this week at the Heart Media Group. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. President Trump's epic State of the Union speech last night ran almost 2 hours, and that's a record. Declaring the State of the Union to be strong, Mr. Trump doubled down on his tariff and immigration policies. And there were plenty of patriotic feel-good moments as well. The Olympic champion U.S. men's hockey team was on hand for the speech, and medals were presented to military members and veterans. The Democrat response delivered by Virginia's newly elected Governor Abigail Spanberger, asking, "Is the president working to make life more affordable for you?" Democrats not the only ones reacting to the Trump speech. Plenty of positive response from pro-family groups as well. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures suggest a higher open later on. The Dow futures up 146 points. NASDAQ futures better by 104 points. More details at srnnews.com.
As America's #1 motorcycle insurer, Progressive has your back.
Oh, like if I need a replacement part?
Sure, we can help with that.
Ah, nice. Hey, I just entered this online contest for coolest bike in the world. You think maybe you could vote for me?
Actually, we just do insurance, not popularity contests.
Yeah, I know. But what's your email? I'll just send you the link real quick. You can vote like 100 times a day. They'll never know.
To be clear, Progressive has your back for insurance only. So get a quote and see if you can save.
So what I'm hearing is there's a little bit of wiggle room.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms, limits, and conditions.
From Lionsgate and Kingdom Story Company comes the highly anticipated I Can Only Imagine 2.
Hey, it's Bart Millard from Mercy Me. And almost 10 years ago, we made a movie called I Can Only Imagine. And it did okay. But while everything was supposed to be perfect on the outside, real life hit on the inside. This is that true story.
Imagine what God can do again. I Can Only Imagine 2. Now playing. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
From the Hart Media Group Sports Desk, IL Sports Wire, and DeWittDailyNews.com, I'm Ben Hubbard with this local sports report. In high school boys basketball, regional semifinal matchups tonight in Class 1A. 7th-seeded Edinburgh will play the 2-seed Carlisle at Bunker Hill at 6 p.m. 10-seed Schlarman will play 2-seed Cerro Gordo Bement at Salt Fork at 6 p.m. Decatur Unity is the 1-seed against 8-seed Oakwood Decatur St. Teresa tonight at 6 p.m., while 1-seeded Leroy will play 9th-seeded Flanagan tonight at Hoopston at 6 p.m. 9th-seeded Havana plays 1st-seed D Mac at Rushville at 6 p.m. tonight, while number 10 Delavan goes to 2-seed Tremont at 6 p.m. 8th-seeded Shiloh is hosted by the 1-seed Tuscola tonight at 6 p.m. The 6th-seed Central A&M plays 3-seeded Toledo Cumberland at Casey Westfield tonight at 7:30, while 13th-seeded Urbana University takes on the number 5-seed Mount Pulaski tonight at Decatur St. Teresa at 7:30. 5-seeded Hayworth plays the 4th-seeded Clifton Central at Hoopston tonight at 7:30 p.m., while the 6th-seed Gibson City Melvin Sibley plays 3rd-seeded Ridgeview Lexington at Lexington. 12th-seeded Meridian takes on the 4th-seed Stewartson Strasburg tonight at Tuscola at 7:30 p.m. In Class 2A, 7th-seeded Eureka will play the 2-seed Warsaw at Canton at 6 p.m., while top-seeded Peoria Manual plays number 9 Tri-Valley at 6 p.m. 8th-seeded Monticello takes on a rival top-seeded Tolono Unity at Maroa-Forsyth at 6 p.m. tonight. Hear the action on 95.9 FM WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com. 7th-seeded Pana will play the 2-seed Warrensburg Latham at St. Joe tonight at 6 p.m., while top-seeded Quincy Notre Dame plays 8th-seed Pleasant Plains at Verdon North Mac at 6 p.m. 7th-seed Auburn is at 2-seed Williamsville tonight at 6 p.m., while the 5th-seeded Macomb plays 4th-seeded Bloomington Central Catholic tonight at 7:30 at Tri-Valley. 5th-seeded Prairie Central takes on 4th-seed El Paso Gridley at Herscher at 7:30 p.m. 4 Westville is at 6 Maroa-Forsyth at 7:30 p.m. tonight. The 5th-seed Clinton will be at 3-seeded St. Joe tonight at 7:30. Hear the action of that game on WHOW and all its digital platforms. The 6th-seed Riverton will play the 3-seed Rochester tonight at Williamsville at 7:30. In Class 3A, 7th-seeded Danville takes on top-seeded Normal U High at Bloomington High School at 6 p.m., while the 8th-seeded Springfield Southeast takes on the number 1-seeded Decatur MacArthur at Decatur MacArthur. The 7th-seeded Washington will take on the 2-seed East Peoria at Galesburg at 6 p.m., while 7th-seeded Decatur Eisenhower goes to 2-seed Lincoln at 6 p.m. 2-seeded Champaign Centennial will play at Normal West tonight at 6 p.m. At 7:30 p.m., Champaign Central, who is the 4-seed, will go to number 5 Bloomington High School. 5th-seeded Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin plays across-town rival number 4-seeded Springfield Lanphier at Decatur MacArthur at 7:30 p.m. tonight, while the 6th-seeded Mount Zion plays number 3 Springfield at Lincoln at 7:30 p.m., while the number 6-seed Urbana plays number 3-seed Muhammad Seymour at 7:30 at Normal West. Brandon Miller scored 23 points. Con Knuppel added 21, and the hot-shooting Charlotte Hornets won a team record 8th straight road game, routing the Chicago Bulls 131-99 on Tuesday night. The Hornets shot 51.6% from the field and were on target from beyond the arc, sinking 25 of 57 three-point attempts, one shy of the team record. LaMelo Ball scored 16 points, and Miles Bridges also had 16 in his return from a suspension. The Hornets outscored the Bulls 42-16 in the third quarter, including a decisive 22-2 run, and handed the Bulls a 10th straight loss, matching their longest slide since January 2019. Mattis Buzelis scored a career-high 32 points for Chicago, which was hurt by turnovers, 19 in this one. Patrick Williams and Gershon Yabusele each had 11 points. Knuppel finished with 3 3-pointers on 6 attempts to up his long-range field goals total to 201. Playing in his 58th game, he became the fastest player to reach 200 threes. Knuppel hit back-to-back threes midway through the third quarter as he scored 10 straight points to give Charlotte a 14-point lead. Miller hit his next 3 shots, including one of his 5 3-pointers, to up it to 88-65 and cap the run that put the Hornets in charge. Bridges and Musa Diabate were both in the starting lineup after sitting out 4 games for their roles in a fight against Detroit on February 9th. Kobe White made his Hornets debut against the team that dealt him at the trade deadline earlier this month, entering midway through the first quarter, then scoring 10 points in 15 minutes and 33 seconds. He was welcomed back to Chicago, where he played 6.5 seasons with a short tribute video. Charlotte led 56-55 at the half after falling behind by 9 in midway through the second quarter. The Hornets are at Indiana on Thursday, while the Bulls play host to Portland on Thursday. In scores from NCAA men's basketball last night, 21st-ranked Miami at Ohio beat Eastern Michigan 74-64, while number 16 Texas Tech handled Cincinnati 80-68. First-ranked Duke beat Notre Dame 100-56, while the 11th-ranked Virginia beat North Carolina State 90-61. Dayton upset number 23 St. Louis University 77-62, while number 3 Michigan beat Big Ten opponent Minnesota 77-67. Number 2 Arizona beat Baylor 87-80, while number 4 Iowa State beat Utah 75-59. Mizzou upset number 22 Tennessee 73-69, and UCF upset number 19 BYU 97-84. In scores from around the NBA last night, the Philadelphia 76ers beat the Indiana Pacers 135-114. The Dallas Mavericks took down the Brooklyn Nets 123-114. While the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the New York Knicks 109-94. The Oklahoma City Thunder took down the Toronto Raptors 116-107. The Atlanta Hawks rolled the Washington Wizards 119-98, while the New Orleans Pelicans beat the Golden State Warriors 113-109. The Milwaukee Bucks took down the Miami Heat 128-117, and the Boston Celtics beat the Phoenix Suns 97-81. The Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Portland Trailblazers 124-121, and the Orlando Magic beat the LA Lakers by just 1 point, 110-109. The NHL returns after the Olympic break tonight. We've got the Buffalo Sabres at the New Jersey Devils. The Philadelphia Flyers go to the Washington Capitals. The Tampa Bay Lightning are playing host to the Toronto Maple Leafs, while the Dallas Stars play host to the Seattle Kraken. The Colorado Avalanche go to the Utah Mammoth, and the Winnipeg Jets are at the Vancouver Canucks. The LA Kings are hosting the Las Vegas Golden Knights, while the Edmonton Oilers play at the Anaheim Ducks. Get highlights of your local high school program by finding IL Sports Wire on your preferred social media platforms And get local sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is Staff Meteorologist